Bon dia, Cordia. Hello, everyone. Eimear Burke here. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. And this is Fireside Chat 209, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. And as is customary, I begin with a prayer for peace. Gomara Siacon ar fud na crinne, Gomara Siacon in our jaili agus in our dirha. Ganairi lin len ar cuid garmacha, gamuch buicas jeev, je chuvdacha is spirit chuvdacha. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities. For peace, as the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. That those who risk their lives each day for peace may hear in their hearts, or may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. And those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb. That our swords be beaten into plowshares and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So you're all very, very welcome, and let me see where you're all from. So I saw Lloyd from early tomorrow morning in New Zealand, Hertfordshire, Wyoming, lovely, Sydney, Australia. Oh, it's very early there, I imagine. Joplin, Missouri, lovely. And Northland, New Zealand, Denmark, Sligo, Minnesota, Berlin, Indiana. I hope it's pronounced Neath in Wales. And then Gisborne. So, and you can see I've got bare arms. It's about 25 degrees here, and I'm still enjoying the weather. Sorry to others who are dealing with, temperatures of the late 30s and into the 40s. That must be really, really hard. So, I know this too shall pass, certainly for us here. Bruges, Belgium. So lovely. Scorched Calgary. Wow. Deal in Kent. Lovely. It's lovely to see you all here. So Durham. Beautiful. Where else is people coming from? Yes. So we are going to Hampshire today. And let me introduce my guest this evening is Paul Mitchell. So, Paul, you are so welcome to this Fireside Chat. And I know we were to go live a few weeks back, and I don't know.
I think the gremlins happened. Yeah.
They conspired against us. Anyway, so far, so good. We are here together and live. So you are in Hampshire. So just tell our guests, our viewers, where that is.
Well, hello to everyone from all over the globe. That's remarkable. So Hampshire in United Kingdom, we're south of London, down to the coast. If you can imagine where the Isle of Wight is, that kind of space there-ish, kind of. Very large county. I live in the north of the county in a village called Overton, which is near Basingstoke, near Reading, I guess near Winchester, nearish to Winchester. Wouldn't want to walk there, but could. So that's where we're at on the South Downs, near an old pilgrim route. Yeah.
So your landscape then, it's chalky and hilly, and do you have many forests where you are?
We have lots of woods. We've got what we call Hampshire diamonds. So when you're digging up your garden, lumps of flint, loads of flint, it turns up, Hampshire diamonds we call it. But yeah, we got sort of gentle rolling hills, lots of woodland around us. I guess there is some forest, but mostly it's all woodland now. We've got a new forest down the road, which isn't vaguely foresty, I guess. And that is that's old land. That's beautiful. That's really old land. That's what we've got around here.
Any sacred sites?
I mean, many sites are sacred without needing much on. We've got a few wells here and there. We've got Winchester, I guess, very old site of pilgrimage and collective worship for all kinds of people over the years. I guess around here in Basingstoke area, no, not any formal ones. We do have, though, not far up the road in a place called Silchester, a Roman amphitheatre.
Ooh.
So there's a moot run by my beloved friend Fainui. She runs what's known as the Lesser Overton Moot there, and we meet this time of year. We meet in the amphitheatre, and Natta and I'm promising to go and sing some songs for her and the crew up there. So that's quite special. That is like a proper amphitheatre. That's pretty
And
cool.
is it in good condition? Do they hold events there?
Yeah, they held things there. Yeah. Silchester's old. Cleaver is old. Well, Roman old, so there must have been stuff there before. Yeah. I mean, it's clearly an amphitheatre. You know, it's not like a sign saying "if you imagine really hard." Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
How do you spell Silchester?
SIL Chester, CHEST. Yeah.
Nimi has put it. She says it's very atmospheric.
Mimi, have you been? You must. If you must come more.
Yes, and Morgan, who's in Berlin, says, "Oh, it sounds like an interesting and unique place for a gathering." I was at the Athens Irish Festival in June. I was performing, and it was in an amphitheatre. So, I mean, and we have one locally called Ballykeefe in Kilkenny, and it's wonderful for theatre, gigs, concerts, and on fine weather, it's bliss. So. So, do you have a seed group or a grove that you're a member of, like a local? Are there other druids near you?
There are druids near me. I've not had contact with them for a while down in the New Forest. I've occasionally dipped into their practice. But no, I've not really been an active member of a local group. Certainly not druid group. Back in the day, I used to be part of Coven in my craft days, but no, not overly. We tried to get some momentum up to create one, but yeah, it's just life.
So, just tell us a little bit about your background, because obviously you've mentioned Coven, so your spiritual background, your journey to the present day.
So it's rooted in tarot. When I was a younger man, when I was 12, 11, I think probably 12, 13, I was reading tarot with much mum's blessing and interest and excitement. Probably not reading very well, but becoming very familiar with that. And that's really remained with me as my touchstone throughout. I really do consider tarot to be one of my lifelong friends. And as much as interests and guide and spiritual practice. And I was very much drawn to the kind of Golden Dawn school of tarot initially, and actually bought a book which came in handy quite recently. And then discovered the craft, I guess, when I was just about to go to university, I suppose. Became involved with did a bit of that during university.
Is this Wicca?
Yes, yeah. Well, was Wicca then, and then as I've left university, got involved with groups in Portsmouth, moved back to my home kind of area. Studied with some groups, Coven in Portsmouth, was initiated, and then really floated into witchcraft rather than Wicca. And so really consider myself a witch, witch's mark. From that time, really see it as two words, or witch's craft, rather than a thing. So yes, I was doing that, bimbling around with that. Got involved with some people, a guy from London town called Tony Lee. We formed a musical act called the Astaroth. Hey, that's a good name for a band. Where we wrote satirical songs which were really quite awful and played them at audiences who were initially willing, and then found the doors locked. And at that time, Mr. the Bard was like working with Spiral Castle, and we bumped into each other. I'd been to the Broomstick Rally in Plumpton, one of the first sort of meeting of pagans outside of my immediate circles. So yeah, really. Dad's been so supportive of me, but of like everyone I know musically. And I guess for a few years bumbling around in the pagan fair and all the rest of it, trying to make things happen locally, and then just thought, oh, you know what, that's really, he knows his stuff and he's done this course, so maybe I'll do it to the bardic part to inform my music. Because I'm writing satire, but also, English, I love English folk music. So I did it, and all the things everyone says. Fell in love with it. Went, oh yeah. Ooh. Met more druids, and found them to be much more on my wavelength. So eventually did the bardic grade. Well, I think I did it in about 18 months. I don't know that I was hanging around. Yeah, because it just was right. And then went on to Ovate and the misery that is the Ovate grade.
I love the Ovate grade. I was miserable as a bard.
So I guess I was going to the assemblies, and I was asked to play, one, which was a real honour. And that went, I can remember Philip introducing me on stage, and it just hitting them with this wall of noise. The first time I did my music was at a PF conference when I launched my first CD, and there was just a face of miserable people looking at me saying, is he really calling us all these names? And then all these heathens and druids the size of Japan walked to the front and sat down and just dared anyone not to have a good time. And it was kind of like that again. I got up in front of Obod and opened up with a nice jolly song, and then started going, you're all awful, you're all wankers, la 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 la, as my music is or was, and just felt so welcomed, so appreciated, might be the phrase. So yeah, so I've been with the order since then, really waxing and waning in terms of my Obod practice. Made it through all the grades, 9 years I think it took me.
Good.
And got me certificate somewhere. Yeah, so that's that. Been to a few camps, did the music stuff, and here I am. Yeah.
Just you've there's twice I think you said that's what it used to be, or not. That's a paraphrase. So your rah rah rah, you're all awful people music. Has that changed, and why?
Yes, it has.
Matured or something?
I think, several reasons. One, I think the opportunity to perform locally was kind of taken away from me by local politics, and I've got a day job, and at the time I had a son to raise and all the rest of it. If you don't want it, if people don't want it, don't have it then. It's kind of if you don't want to host me, then I won't. I'm not going to fight it. And so really playing around campfires is where I've ended up being. And I don't write the rah stuff now. Because I'm not as entwined. When I was younger, I was with the Pagan Federation, going to lots of meetings, meeting this smorgasbord of personalities who were inspiring the songs, these circumstances, and message boards were feeding fuel into it. And of course, when all the message boards went, and those rows or interesting conversations kind of disappeared with them, that affected the material. When I stopped being so involved in the local stuff, I wasn't encountering this stuff, and at the same time, I was falling more and more in love with English folk music via a project called Mad Maudlin. So that's really where it's gone. And now I'm in a rock band, singing a rock band, and I play folk music with my wife in Hare's Lullaby and play with Mad Maudlin. So I don't really have the capacity to even rehearse those old songs. So I'll dust them off for a Fireside. But I'm not getting up on stage with them anymore. Those days have gone. It's somebody else's turn, frankly.
So you've mellowed.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, anyway, our viewers, we will have two songs from Paul. So your name, because you mentioned that your mum is Irish and she's
Yeah,
Mitchell, but then your email address is different. So
yeah,
you're a man with two names. Tell
I
us.
am. So that's down to largely down to my career. So in the day, I've been for a very long time. My career has really been a youth and community worker. And
Okay.
so, particularly in the days of the emergence of social media, but even before that, when I first started, me and Tony back in the Astroff, hey, that's a good name for band days. We also ran a fanzine called Burnt Offerings, and I was involved in youth work very early on in my career, and there were a lot of evangelical Christians still involved in running youth work then, and they were quite powerful, and people were. These were back in the days when people were sidelined because they were gay, or they were sidelined because they're black, and even though people sort of pretended it didn't happen, and so the advice was very clearly. I was asked if I would apply to be the youth officer for the Pagan Fed, for example, because I helped with some of their youth work stuff, and the advice I got was don't do it, don't touch it with a barge pole, and that was good advice, because the guy who did get the role was outed by the news of the world, and it caused all kinds of craziness. So what I did is I adopted my mum's maiden name, Mitchell. Her mum's Fletcher, but and I used that in my pagan world. And so largely you can find me, as I've recently discovered to my dismay, you can find me through my main name if you have a good look. You've got to want to look. But as a rule, I try to keep this, and it also helps me for not so much here, but if on those occasions when I have got up on stage with Paul Mitchell, that's not me. I'm not that awful, really. So it kind of helps. Yeah, I'm not that angry all the time. It kind of helps. Yeah.
Well, Sean, who's a druid and a bishop from Calgary, in my former life, I played in a shitty punk band that didn't make its way past house parties, and I loved the zine culture. So, what
Yeah.
is the zine culture?
But, I guess a bit sort of as in magazine or zine sign, and yeah, that was punk in it. It's homemade. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be heartfelt. It doesn't have to make any money. It just kind of needs to not bankrupt you.
Oh, okay. I
But
live in my
yeah.
own little. Okay, brilliant. So, so do you have much connection with Ireland now?
No, I'm rebuilding. I'm building it really. Since my mum, bless her, passed away, we had a great funeral over here, and my auntie came over with her daughter and her granddaughter, and we just had a riot. It was such a good funeral, such a good wake, and I fell in love with them all again. My uncles, well, my uncle. So we've been over relatively recently, a year or so ago. We're planning on going over again, and trying to drop in to see people. We've done Dublin a couple of times. I think we've probably done Dublin to death, really. Dublin Castle's pretty stunning, mind. But yeah, we think next time we go, we'll do a bit of a tour and drop in and see some families.
Yeah, and it's a great country to visit. Well, just like Britain is, they're all different. Everywhere you go, there's something different. So so you play music at nighttime, your day job. So you have been a youth worker. I bet you were a great youth worker because you were always
Well, I had my moments.
Did you have to keep your tattoos covered?
No, I don't think I had many back then, actually. But no, that wasn't. Or this one maybe. Yeah, probably that one. But wasn't really an issue. And yeah, so I worked my way up the greasy pole. I was a detached youth worker on the streets of Basingstoke. Ended up working information advice services for young homeless people, drug using young people, chaotic lives young people for a while. Ended up moving jobs, running a youth service, being head of a youth service. Bounced around a bit, done some project work with mental health charities. I did a piece of project work for Children's Hospice Movement charity, which was just the best thing I've ever done. The thing I'm proudest of. drove me nuts. It was really, really hard work because of the funders. Any charity workers out there? Because of the funders. But I'm now working for an organisation where I'm a youth work expert, so I advise local authority youth services on how to do their thing, and help them build quality frameworks and review their services, which means I get to go to some interesting places, but it does mean I get to go to a lot of youth clubs and observe the youth work, which basically means hanging around with some young people for a bit and some cool youth workers.
Oh, very good, very good.
Finding a way of writing it up.
So, and then you did your master's. So that's much later after you. That's a recent thing?
Relatively recently, I completed that a couple of years ago. So did just as a kind of educational pursuit. Yeah, how far can I push my brain before it breaks, kind of thing. It turns out, nearly did. So it's Master of Arts in coaching and mentoring at, well, it's pronounced Oxford Brookes University. I did my dissertation for that, which I read recently. It was quite good, on the use of tarot in coaching. And as far as I'm aware, I'm the only person who's produced any academic work on the use of tarot in coaching. Certainly there was nothing around that I could find. There's a little bit on the use of it in therapy, some of which has got dubious. Yeah, so I did my dissertation on that. And
so I unpack that a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
So what I did is I interviewed, not reading, I interviewed 5 bona fide coaches who used tarot. And by bona fide, I mean they weren't just somebody who'd done a 12-week coaching course. One of them had been running a successful business for ages, like decades. But the others had also been doing that and were accredited by one of the main coaching bodies, which means you've got to show that you know your business. You got to be good to be registered, even with the International Coaching Federation. So I worked with them. I interviewed them about their processes, a couple of interviews each about their processes, and unpicked it to work out what they were doing and what was common. And it's no surprise, but none of them were talking about prediction or magic in process. Some of them mentioned intuition a lot. I'd already done a big piece of work on the use of intuition in coaching. But fundamentally, as you might expect, they're using tarot. I've got it written down somewhere because I was talking to someone about it the other day. It's quite a phrase. An archetypal syncretic canon. So really they're using the archetypal imagery in tarot. Most of them, or all of them, are using a tarot based on the
Rider-Waite-Smith
deck, either that deck or one which was a more colourful, flouncy version of it. And so they were using the images to work in metaphor with their client. There's a technique in coaching called clean language, where we would only use your metaphor. But they weren't doing that. They were co-creating metaphor, exploring metaphor with the client, and working from there. And it's successful. But the reason it's successful is rarely about the method that's used. It's about having a common connection. Well, if you're looking for something in tarot, you're already halfway there. And it's about all kinds of other things other than the operational mode. But it was an interesting exploration of the use of imagery. And of course, the thing with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is that it's so purposely full of imagery that it's just lush with this stuff. And so I can see, and so I've done a bit of it, tried it out myself a few times. And it works a treat. It works an absolute treat. If the person in front of you is engaged in the process and wants to join in, it works a treat. Yeah.
There's a question from Morgan. That sounds like an interesting topic. Do you use tarot in your professional life, and how has it gone down, if so?
No, I don't. I don't use tarot in my professional life. I use tarot in my life. So tarot, how do I use tarot? I'll sit and I'll I'll interview myself, or I'll interview a card. So what's that about? Okay, how does this card work? And the game plan with metaphor as the core, the idea is that it's the core of our understanding, yet alone the core of our language. It's the core of how we think. Is the theory that I found most prevalent is that your subconscious uses, metaphor, works in metaphor. And there's that Jungian thing is there's no such thing as coincidence, because what's happening is your subconscious is screaming at you, look, these things are related, work it out, because that's the only language it knows. And so, working in metaphor is a way of engaging with that subconscious mind in order to unpack your own thinking and understanding. And vital thing to remember is your subconscious isn't automatically right. You don't have to do what your subconscious says. But no, I don't use it in my professional life. There's not really a lot of room in it when I'm writing a report on somebody's youth strategy. But I do use it, not every day, but certainly, I don't know if use it's even the right word. I engage with it 4 or 5 times a week, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times a week. And what I've done really well is not to have a billion tarot decks. Because I could easily have a billion tarot decks.
How many do you have?
I've probably got about, what last count was 32, I think. So that's quite reasonable.
I'm not near there. I could have 15, I think. And I'm not, I've always struggled with tarot. I just like the pictures. And I did a 1.5 hours with what do you call him? Christopher Hughes. He promised I'd be doing it within an hour. He lied. It took an hour and a half.
Yeah, his thing is really good for that.
Highly recommended. So I was in his house.
Oh, right. That's weird.
The deck he chose. Now, I've been told, somebody has to give you your deck. You don't buy it. Of course, I keep buying them because I like the pictures. Anyway, so the one he chose was the golden Art Deco. I was a small.
Very Christopher, yes.
So I learned on that, and he said, "That's yours." And I can't read any other deck since then, with all the lovely pictures. So it's really, really interesting. And I don't know if you followed Philip and Steve Handsome. They're using tarot and looking at other applications. So I mean, you're talking about using tarot in coaching and mentoring. Do you actually do, and are you at that level where you're?
I haven't launched out into offering tarot coaching because I simply don't have the time.
Okay.
But it is something I'll play with occasionally if people want to come and play. Talking to Steve, you might imagine, made reference to some of Steve's work in my disc. I think I contacted him about it.
Okay.
So yeah, I do a bit of pro bono coaching for youth work leaders. I am available. Also, actually, one of my favorite dissertation stories is I was looking for some reference material about how did tarot become associated with the esoteric. So I wrote to Professor Ronald Hutton and asked him, and he wrote an email back to me, and I am going to get it on a t-shirt. I said, I don't know if you can remember me, I'm Paul, I do this thing, I've seen you there. And he wrote back saying something like, Paul, you are a pagan cultural icon.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to get that. I've got it on my wall over there, so I'm going to get that on a t-shirt. And I saw him at an assembly and said, you said this to me. You are, Paul, you definitely are.
Oh, that's wonderful. You know Ricky Gellison, do you?
Yeah.
Just what the world needs, another bloody druid deck. To paraphrase a certain singer.
Thank you, Ricky. Hope you're well.
So can you explain that reference to viewers who may not know?
So one of my songs is Just What the World Needs, Another Bloody Druid, which does actually chart. I should have practiced that one for you, shouldn't I? Which does actually chart my journey from Fireside, listening to Mr. Bard. Well, actually, no, it charts me first meeting Tony Lee, who was the other member of the Astrof. Hey, that's a good name for a band. And he's a comic book writer out there, very successful, beautiful man in a lot of ways. meeting him, and then being converted to Druidry via Mr. the Bard round the fireside. So yeah, and it comes from that, just what the world needs, another bloody druid.
Oh, absolutely lovely. Sean, again in Calgary, he mentioned interviewing the tarot. Would this be like conversational divination with the deck as one half of the conversation?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, I don't get into the concept of divination with tarot, but so one of the, I can't remember, it was an exercise for, might even have been for my course, my Obold course. Yes, it was. I'm not going to tell you where, in case it's a spoiler. But I did it. I laid out the story of. I laid out a story from Mabinogion. I won't go into too much here. I laid out a story from Mabinogion on tarot. So yeah, the characters. These are the characters. Go through the tarot text. These are the characters. These are the pip cards being. These are the actions, the things that happen. And I laid it out. This is the story in tarot form. And then to the characters, I drew the character card up, and I would be saying, so how do you feel about this at this stage of the story? And draw some cards and then interpret the card to that. And so interviewing that card via other cards. Yeah, that's out there. So I wrote an article about it for someone, for Tabby, I think, Tarot Association of British Isles, many, many moons ago. So yeah, that's what I mean by interviewing. And that's what I would do in a reading. If I'm with somebody talking through a thing and the card is creating a particular conversation, we'd go deeper into that conversation. And if drawing another card to help the metaphor, help the expert, who are you in this card? Well, what happens if they leave? Where do they go? Boom. Oh, what part of the journey is this now? What's going on in that card? And it might be that they understand that the Three of Cups is this, that, and the other. Or it might be that they don't, that they just know that cups are about this. So, and whatever they bring, we build the metaphor with it. And in that way, we kind of interview the card as we go down the track.
I just love this. This is absolutely fascinating. Yeah, it is what the world needs. I'm going to ask you to play, but Neil has have you tried runes for reading?
Yes. English runes were a big hit for a while in this house. Kind of lost track of it, really. Yes, I have. I enjoyed runes. Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready? Are we ready? I think our viewers are ready for a song.
Can I? So this is my love at the moment is English folk music. But a very good friend of mine, Paul Sarton from various folk projects. No longer with us. Terrible loss to our heritage. In that typical folky way, he found this version of this song. I think in Cecil Sharp House. Where else would you find it? And it's from down the road in Whitchurch. So let's see if people recognise it. It might go wrong. It might not.
Away, lad.
Well, I've been a wild rover for many a long year. I spent all my money, boys, on women and good beer. And now I'm returning with gold in great store. Never will I play the wild rover no more. Wild rover, wild rover, wild roving no more. And it's never will I play the wild rover no more. I went into an alehouse where I used to resort. I told the landlady my money was short. I asked her for credit, but her answer was nay. Such a customer as you, my boy, we might have any day. Wild rover, wild rover, wild roving no more. And it's never will I play the wild rover no more. I reached into my pocket, found gold straightways. It was only to test them, for to hear what they'd say. So we have whiskies, we have wines of the best, and the words that I spoke, they were only in jest. Wild rover, sing along, wild rover, wild roving no more. And it's never will I play the wild rover no more. Oh no, I replied, that never shall be. I'd see you all hung for I spend one penny. For a man who's got money may laugh and may roar, but a man who's got none will be thrown out the door. Wild rover, wild rover, wild roving no more. And it's never shall I play the wild rover no more. Now you see the landlady at ease in her chair, ruffles at her wrists and fine curls in her hair. It's made from our money, boys, as you very well know, and for to maintain her we are fools if we do. Wild rover, wild rover, wild roving no more. And it's never will I play the wild rover, no. Never will I play the wild rover, no. Never will I play the wild rover no more.
Beautiful. Now, I would have thought that was an Irish folk song.
Wow. You know what?
We have our own versions of it. I mean, it's the story is the same, but just some of the lyrics are different.
Well,
And
it's
you
not
hear
a story of redemption here, is it? It lacks the redemption arc of the version most people know. I know we know a Scottish version of it as well. Thank you very much for the collapse, people. I know a Scottish version of it as well, which is Whiskey for Full Breakfast, I think, or Whiskey Kiss did it.
okay.
And but I guess what I hope that would demonstrate, apart from the fact that Paul Sarton was a genius at finding it and arranging it, and it's sorely missed, is that this is heritage. You know, these are your songs, these are our songs. I used to do a talk on folk music as part of our heritage, as much as Stonehenge or Avebury or the rest of it. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite songs to play.
It was a beautiful rendition of it, a beautiful version of it. I'm always intrigued by, given the history of the two islands, which hasn't been the easiest, that looking at English folk songs that either are Irish folk songs, or because of the traffic going way back and the influences. So you have a Scottish song that Irish folk singers sing, and I assume that's an Irish song, or they're and vice versa. I always, those lovely common threads, and the way you sing that sounds like an English folk song rather than an Irish folk song.
Yeah,
The way the Wild Rover in Irish is probably an Irish folk version of it, and perhaps the Scottish version is different again.
The BBC did a beautiful 2 series called the Transatlantic Sessions, where they brought together American folk musicians from that's a phrase, isn't it? American folk, because it covers all a very broad way, with various types of Scottish and Irish musicians. Because of course there was that great transition, and there are, you can hear from the Appalachian Mountains stories that are sung in bars, written in bars in Dublin. That they went with the people. And they changed because of the voices, but also because they made different instruments over there, and some of those came back, like the banjo, and so and other things arrived, like the bouzouki, and so the evolving folk tradition puts these songs in everyone's ownership, really. Yeah, I guess the phrase was, "Is it a folk song?" Well, I've not heard a horse sing it, so.
It's just wonderful. You mentioned the bouzouki. I remember, I think it was Planksty, Donald Lunny brought the bouzouki from Greece to Ireland, and now bouzouki's appear in kind of, and it's just so lovely, that interweaving and the ability from one tradition to recognize some kind of point of synthesis from another tradition and an instrument. Think, oh, now that could really enhance ours. There are some people who are very, no, it has to be pure. So, like, you get traditional musicians in Ireland, it's the pure form, and then you've folk isn't pure because, well, we're not pure. And I just love the blending and the mixing and the talking and the conversations that can be had.
And a whiz for that right now, excitingly, is a fine lady called Talis Kimberly, who's back on the music scene, but she writes the most beautiful songs with the most beautiful lyrics, and is I'm pretty sure she has a couple on bouzouki. She's quite wee, and her voice is like boom and beautiful stuff. And she's working with Tom Brown, artist, as well, doing lots of that. So bringing, and he's American. That's allowed now. And he's bringing, like, they're bringing weaving these art forms to inform each other and create new things and beautiful people. But yeah, I'd really check out Talis Kimberly.
I will. Ricky says she's awesome, and I just love these conversations, as in music instruments conversing. I did a residency in Morocco last autumn with a Moroccan teller. He came to Ireland. It was his idea to look at the invisible threads between Amazigh culture and Irish culture, and so I play the harp and he plays the gimbri, which is a 3-string instrument. It's also percussion, and it comes from the Gnawa. The Gnawa are the descendants of slaves in Morocco, and I didn't know how we were going to have me playing the harp, because I'm not a professional musician. I play the harp. I have a harp, and it was just fascinating to be able to work with him. This how gimbri meets harp, and because the gimbri has it's 3 strings, so there's not quite a melody, and then there's a drone, where the harp there's a melody, and how do you manage that? And it was just interesting how threads were woven, and I'm always fascinated with that. Sean says, so much music resonates across culture, even when culture or powers clash. Morgan says, I love how music and traditions travel. I have a friend in Galicia who shared their traditional performances, which is bagpipes and kilts.
Yeah.
He says, it's so alive, so it evolves. If it doesn't change, it's lost some of its life. Well, absolutely. So I don't know what a taglio harp is. Taglio is, in Italy, means I cut. So I have no idea what that is. Just a question there. So before we're going to have, and I know you're going to have another song. So how has your Druidry, what impact has it had on your life?
So very, I mean, do you do Druidry? Does it do you? I don't know. I don't do things because I'm a Druid. I'm a druid because I do things, I think. So the impact that it had on its arrival was that it really did provide me that bardic grade with the things in it, which what I'm talking about. But that really gave me the way I interpreted the material that came through, gave me an opportunity to literally weave my things in with elements, be very mindful of the spirituality, and recognizing when I was surfing Arwen. So there were some songs that just arrive. You just feel embarrassed to say you wrote them because they just arrive. Other songs really need to be welded together and hammered into place and bits chopped off and all the rest of it. But I think what that initial stuff did, was give me a frame of reference, a set of tools, and a mission almost to be mindful of the spirituality within my music, which might have been satire and all the rest of it, but nonetheless was important to me, or is important to me. And then to recognize, or to decide, that every performance is in honor of the gods, and well, honor of her, really, of the goddesses. So that was the initial impact. And then community, I guess, dedication to the studies and I've been studying anyway because I've been through craft and coven, but a better structure for that, a better reason to be studying, not me deciding what to bring together, but still, I guess one of the delights of the Ober course is that you do bring yourself to it. You're not told this is what this is. You're told, what's this then? You're asked, what's this to you? So I guess that was useful in terms of my ordering my spiritual development. Yeah, I think those would be the things. And then really, my druidry, in the same way as my craft, is a reflection of me. It's not a set of rules. It's something that comes and hammers on my door occasionally. So yeah, I guess that's the way.
So tell me, this is a personal question, so you are free to answer or not. Just about a challenge you've had that you've overcome.
I guess the big one for me within this context would be really walking away from the local pagan music scene a few years back, because it was made quite toxic by some people with purse strings and the like locally. And that was really quite painful for me. I felt really bruised by I know every story has two sides, but they can come on here and talk to you about it. But I felt very bruised by that, and but I think I sought counsel from people. Am I wrong here? Am I the arsehole? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And went through some challenges with that, and but I think what I found was that even though there were people who were saying to me, it's not that big a deal, don't worry about it, nonetheless the community was very supportive of me, and remains so, really. Now, partly because some people were going, oh yeah, that happened to me too, but there were lots of people going, no, you just need to stick, your business, you know your arguments, you know what you want to put your energies into. And I concluded it just wasn't worth it wasn't a fight worth fighting for me. So, but that was quite dark. That was a dark period. Yeah, I can see someone's written, I'm tired of the bigotry of many pagan communities. I'm not sure they were bigoted, but they were. I grew tired of bothering. But it was a decision. It was a big decision to go, no, I'm not doing this anymore. But I think the community around me were and remain supportive of that decision many moons ago. And I think musically, it certainly has. Creatively, it certainly hasn't done me any harm. I feel I've been more creative in different ways. Yeah.
You know, it takes such courage at one point in your life to say, I'm not fighting this. This
Yeah.
isn't worth it. And to make that decision.
I think that was the first big time I'd done that.
It was the first time you'd done it. Okay.
I think so, yeah. A big, you know, a big thing to surrender, a big thing to go, oh, no, you have it. All right, well done.
You know, I mean, I'm not a Buddhist, but it's almost like here you are practicing non-attachment and letting it go. And of course, when you let something go, you discover actually there's a whole community with you.
Mm.
Because often there's that fear that if I let this go, I'm going to be letting more than that go. I'm going to lose, you know, my community, my whatever.
Yeah.
And it's great that members of the community are able to go, no, that's this, and you're still one of us and still part of it. And
Yeah, very much.
and like you say, you let something go and more stuff comes in, and that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ricky says sometimes the pagan community can sometimes eat its own young, and then the Hobbit hippie says it's so hard to draw the line in the sand, and then RD says, and you make space for something new. I'm just echoing what I said, and I think the freedom to be able to do that, you know, and because once you can make that decision, when you make that once,
Mm.
and if it comes to it again, you can do that, you know. And Amy says if it hurts, it's probably not doing you any good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, have you another song?
So this one, I can remember performing this first time at Obod, taking it out onto the stage. People who might have seen me before might remember that I tend to play a 12-string guitar. So on a 12-string guitar, this is like really in your face. However, just bought this.
Oh, okay.
RS secondhand, 300 quid. So there's people out there going, how much? How much? Bargain, bargain, bargain.
So it must have guitar. Okay, good.
So this is I wrote this one of my satirical songs, so I'm going to get silly now. There was a big debate many moons ago about how to treat historical human remains. And some people got really heated about it. Some people saying, no, it's tradition. It's been a tradition to bring the remains out and honour them and put them back. Other people saying this is ridiculous. How can we treat our ancestors in this way? And then conversations about the British Museum. There's always a conversation about the British Museum. And the like. And so it got really heated. Really, people got really angry about it. So I thought I'd help by writing a song about it and just generally.
Did you help?
And in the middle 8 of this, there's an educational bit which lays out the arguments on both sides. So if you got a notebook, it might be worth listening. What I need is backing singers for this. So sing along. The ancestors, the ancestors. Now it's not just about rotting bones or about your roundhouse homes. It's not about dusty tones or how you cut your Roman nose. It's not about the time team or how the Romans were really quite mean. It's not about invaders gone or who killed who to get the throne. In ancient times it did some stuff which even now does inspire us. The present rights we emulate, although we're not always accurate. We might honour those of the past by holding up an ale-filled glass. Touch the hands across the years, although they would find us very, very weird. I'm singing about the ancestors, really cool. Ancestors, some of them ruled. Ancestors, they might be dead. They're alive in our hearts, in our hands, in our heads. Ancestors had groovy gods. Ancestors, they would think us odd. Ancestors, let's think on. You'll be an ancestor too one day, my son. Ancestors. And some came from very distant lands, worked the soil with rough-hewn hands. Some raped and pillaged, then were gone. We don't like to talk about those ones. Some lived in caves, some lived in huts, some lived in houses just like us. Some stayed at home, some went to war, some were rather attractive. I'm singing about the ancestors, really cool. Ancestors, some of them ruled. Ancestors, they might be dead. They're alive in our hearts, in our land, in our head. Ancestors lived in the past. Ancestors, really quite a blast. Ancestors through rose-tinted glass, as cool as a penguin's arse. And that's pretty cool. Ancestors. And some say you should leave those bones alone, held in the arms of the earth which has become their home. Some say, oh no, excavations for me. Those bones reveal the story of our history. Some say some stuff that's sort of in between. It's a delicate matter, as I'm sure you will agree. Well, there you go. I'm glad I've had a helpful hand in developing your understanding of this rather complicated issue. And now what do you think that they would say in those rather futuristic days, when we are all dead and gone, when it is us who are the rotting bones? Let's be the ones who leave behind a better world than we did find. The Beater Keys of the past, who left the future smiles and laughs. I'm singing about the ancestors, that's us one day. Ancestors, what will they say? Ancestors, when our current age is nothing more than their heritage. Ancestors, let's do our best. Ancestors, to join the rest. Ancestors, let's work each day to earn the honour of the name. Ancestors, you're all gonna die. You're all gonna die. You're all gonna die and become ancestors.
Hey, wonderful, wonderful.
There you go. Thank you, guitar.
Beautiful, and I'm just pleased at how well it sounded, because it's
Oh, good. I'm pleased too.
these things are just with the connections and all of that. And Rolly Fox says, "How wonderful to have music in a fireside chat." We do from time to time when I have musicians who are gutsy enough to do it. So thank you so much. Well, that was just brilliant.
I see Nemi has been singing along on the keyboard. Thank you.
Yes, brilliant. Hands yellow, heart red. Majored in archaeology, right on. That had me laughing out loud in multiple places. Okay, brilliant, beautiful. Love your music. So you've got fans here. Beautiful, beautiful. Yay, wonderful. So we are going to, just before, I suppose I have two final questions before we finish. It's interesting that you work with, oh yeah, sorry, Karasu, where can I find your music?
Bandcamp. Paul Mitchell on Bandcamp. I've got some digital downloads there. So if you look for Far Better Pagan was the first CD, and then
Far Better Pagan,
and then Ancestors was the second I think. No. Drinking Times was the second. Ancestors the last.
Okay, Times, and then there's Ancestors is the last one. Okay, so brilliant. And Nimi says I scared my cat laughing, so sorry about that. And Ricky says hallelujah for. Okay. No, hallelujah.
So
Hallelujah.
that's a reference to one of my early songs, Hallelujah for Satan, which is great for children to sing along to.
Oh, lovely. Just a question that I often ask people is, what concerns have you about the modern world?
Oh, Lords. My major concern right now, in terms of what I'm trying to do something about, is the re-emergence of the far right in this country. So I know that there are lots of pressing matters, but this is one that I've campaigned on for a while. Back in the day, it was 2010, 2008, the BNP, British National Party, far right movement, who would look like pussycats now. Their membership list got released online, and we realized that they had been encouraging people to infiltrate folk traditions, folk music, folk dancing, and to do that heritage thing there. And so the folk world got together and did Folk Against Fascism. So Mad Maudlin, the band that I'm in, the folk band, we play songs about sex, death, and magic. We pulled together with the help of Dave the Bard, the Dolman, really helpful as well. The Druid Network, very helpful too. Pulled together a pagan folk against fascism. Can you see what we did there? Put together spoken word. Gordon the Toad, for example, did a beautiful poem. When's he not done a beautiful poem? We got some traditional songs on there sung by people, and lots of different musicians gave their time. And we did that to raise awareness and raise some funds and do some things. And so now in my everyday work, I see the impact of the rise of the manosphere, the far right ideologies of the manosphere, causing real problems. I see flags out here in Basingstoke being taken down by people, which is great. The cover for Pagan Folk Against Fascism, Ricky makes reference to there. The cover was by Kerry, who did design this.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
Kerry, of Darth the Bard and Kerry fame. So yeah, that's the thing I'm doing, a thing that I can't really talk about now about, as well as in my day job. Yeah.
Nimi says it's frightening that no one seems to have learned from the rise of them 100 years ago. And I think I'm glad you said it, because it is a concern of mine, along with many others. But I just see, you're talking about the manosphere, how women's rights. I'm just speaking as a woman. I mean, there's lots of other rights as well. How they're being rolled back, particularly in the US and in other places. And we know our conservatism, our right wing in Ireland, was the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah,
that's how mild it was.
Yeah,
and now we have this huge rise, and it's like, whoa. So, and that's quite concerning. So, what? And Carlos is especially bad there. You in America, yeah. How? So, what gives you hope?
Well, I have a rather splendid son. He is the future, and he's grand and splendid, largely thanks to his mother, I think.
How old is he?
He's 25 now.
I have a daughter 24. Okay, yeah.
And if he can tell you, that man can play guitar. He can play.
Oh, really?
He came back. He used to play lots of acid jazzy stuff and loopy stuff. Really clever, beautiful music. And we were at a thing recently. Sat at a table with him and friends having a drink. And he lives in London, away from us. So he said, "Oh, Mum, Dad, I'm thinking about going to some folk clubs. Can you suggest some folk songs?"
Wow.
So we both made up lists and sent them to him and said, which one's you going to pick? Which one? So he gives me hope, but also I think action. So back to talking about the man you might imagine, if you meet him, you'll know it is an inspiration. Tom Brown introduced me to this concept of re-enchantment is resistance. It's a movement within a kind of creative community. And that really resonates with me, and I'm working with that in between other things, with this sense of we are the change, not we should be. We are the change. What we are doing is changing things, whether you like it or not. So what are you doing? You're doing nothing. That's changing things. So what are you doing? And the idea of re-enchantment then is to bring that a spiritual element, but also that whimsy element, joyous element. Because there is a line. I'm reading works on hope at the moment. There is a line that this is a final last gasp of the right before we enter that kind of Star Trek future, and that may or may not be true, but it's a useful anchor, I think.
I think if we get into hopelessness, it's one of the precursors to people taking their own lives. That awful dark place, and then we fall into powerlessness. Sorry, yeah, and helplessness, and therefore, then we can't do anything, and we're not agents at all of our own destiny, our own lives. And as soon as we lose that hope, or hide nothing, and I think that's why I always ask, this is the concern: what gives you hope? And it's lovely, to say, you're talking about your son. I have a 28-year-old son and a 25-year-old daughter, and who was wild and then suddenly followed myself and her father's footsteps, and she's studying psychology. Who'd have thunk it? But it's really interesting when you have, and children are meant to break the parents' mold, but it's so lovely when they get to just turn back and have a look. Oh, mom, dad, there might be something there that is lovely. So here's dreaming of a better future for all. If I could go, I would protest. I would. Yeah, it's not for everybody, Cara. So some people are actually, it's too dangerous or physically not able to do it, or it's not in their temperament. Others sign petitions, others sing songs, or having conversations like this. Somebody said there's a couple of states in the US trying to ban paganism. I mean, the mind boggles, and then there are other states in the US where it's free to be whatever, it just.
Yeah, I mean, I guess hang in there and create networks, find your networks, be supportive of each other, be ready to support and help. Don't underestimate what checking in once in a while can do, but do hope, even if we're wrong, even if we're doomed, at least we can be doomed with hope.
No, you know what? Absolutely. And there's also something around what people often fall down on is they forget that the common goal and they fight over the means towards that goal.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about what's our goal, freedom for people and equality and justice, it's hard to argue against those values. And then if people fall down about how they're going to be achieved, that's our own downfall. It's about always coming back to our common goal and to welcome difference and have conversation rather than someone who's different is my enemy, and that we don't get divided. That it's united we stand, and I think that's a really important one. And that's one of the things within OBOT, which I really, really love, I really value, is its diversity. And you've talked about your various iterations spiritually, and how you can be a Wiccan, you can be a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, a pagan, an animist in OBOD, and nobody's going to argue over how many gods, goddesses they are, whether it's monotheism or whatever it is. And then it just we have enough values that we share for us to stand in circle and support each other. And Ricky said, made me go look at Tom Brown's website. And aside from the artwork, I was immediately taken by the phrase, whimsy that is not afraid of the dark. Oh, isn't that lovely? Thank you, Ricky.
Go find Mr. Brown. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And ask him really difficult and annoying questions on a regular basis and say, I sent you, because that'd cheer me right up.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Yeah. So Nimi says, a blast of creativity ripples on eternally.
That's beautiful. I think that's very true.
And Cara Sue, it just says how things are scary, especially scary as a queer person who would like to be a parent. I'm sorry that, I think that
I feel for you with that. Yeah.
For a country that was open and not now. Just interesting how we also, I suppose, cannot take whatever freedoms we have for granted.
I think
And
that's where mistakes
it's
been
not
made.
just over there, it's about here.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I regularly get called slurs because I veil. I'm sorry to hear about that, Cara Sue. I'm just, anyway, thoughts are with you. But again, just what Paul says is reaching out.
Mm.
Um, you can do it online with people to find like-minded souls that you're not on your own. Because I do think that sense of isolation can make you feel really, really helpless and hopeless.
And I would also say, back maybe to that point about challenge, don't fight fights that aren't worth winning.
That's right.
You know, you don't have to argue with idiots online. You don't have to hold your own. You can, if you can walk away. You can be in settings and just nod and let ignorant people be ignorant if it means you can get the services you need and things that you need. However, I'm very mindful that I'm amongst the most privileged that there can be. So I don't want to diminish people's stresses and experiences.
I remember reading this. Oh my God, I was a teenager. Is never argue with the fool because people might not know the difference. And
I like the
you
one. It's like playing chess with a pigeon. It'll just strutter across the board, knocking everything over, and still think it's winning.
that's exactly it. And Sean says reactionary movements may be on the decline more widely, but cornered creatures, especially
Yeah,
wounded ones, can be dangerous. It's
yeah,
insecurities raised to the level of society. Absolutely.
yeah.
Animi is sending Karasu love and strength. You deserve to be who you are in your heart. And she says, I'm joining OBOT as soon as I get a space from parents. Well, you'll be welcome, Karasu. So it is a haven for the weirdest of people and the oddest of people. I know somebody who isn't a fan of OBOD often says, "Oh, you and that odd bod," and I said, "Absolutely,
Take that. Take
I
that.
love it."
Yeah,
OBOD is full of odd bods, and I think that's one of our strengths that you can find another odd bod or weirdo like yourself
yeah,
to sit and have a chat with.
yeah.
So
We blend right in Glastonbury.
yeah, exactly. So it's hard in the US as a vegan. I'm sure to find whatever it is, and we have vegans, vegetarians, and meat eaters alike that we allow. Um, there's no dogma about anything. So you're feeling accused, Ricky, are you? Sorry about that. But what if someone is still wrong on their interweb? I can't answer that question. That's too profound for me. Paul, listen, thank you so much. This has been great. Love the conversation, and I think people did too. What is it? I definitely feel right at home as a fellow oddball. No, we're talking about oddbods, but oddballs as well as oddbods. Brilliant. So I let you say goodnight to everybody, and then I'll send you to the green room and we can look at the comments.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. It's just, I mean, it's lovely to talk with you, Mayor, always. But lovely to feel a connection with people across the globe, be you OBOD members, aspiring members, or not. It's lovely to feel the connection. Thank you for all the kind things that you've said, and yeah, may your gods go with you.
Thank you. So don't go away. I'll just say I'm going to close here and say goodbye, and then we can go back and debrief. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me this evening. The Hobbit says these lives are my interactions with Obod. The closest druids to me are 3.5 hours away. Well, we do have on our hearth that online hub for people to connect virtually if they can. Thank you both. Lovely chat that had me smiling and laughing. Thank you so much. Why be a nobody when you can be a nobody? Well, absolutely. And somebody says, I was just telling somebody earlier that I loved how I felt like I finally found my people with everyone being as quirky as me. We say it's a cliche, but so many people say that. Brilliant, even Paul. Lovely to meet you. Great thoughtful chat tonight. So I thank you all for joining me this evening, and I wish you all a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, or if I'm just thinking of the Southern Hemisphere, so got up early to watch this. Or recording of this conversation. We're having our stories around the hearth online next Thursday, so I won't be here for a fireside chat, but I will be on the 30th, so in 2 weeks' time, and then I will take a break for the month of August, as I usually do. In the meantime, please be well and be safe. And yeah, be safe. So until we meet again, slán go fóill.